Hey everybody, as you can see by the title, it's time for another video. And as you can see by the title, this is DC owns Dragon Ball. This is my opinion this is a first in a series of short videos of franchises that are better than Dragon Ball. Several reasons that they are better. And for the first one, we got to look at DC. There will be a larger version in the future on my Super Beta for 100 channel, but this is just a short. This is just a short version right here because I don't feel like really recording an intro and a long video with it. So it'll just be these short versions here. With that being said, let me get started right now. So yes, several reasons DC is better than Dragon Ball. And number one, Dragon Ball often gets praised as being the best shonen action anime ever and the best action cartoon, the best in action. When you get to DC, anything, comic books, cartoons, movies, games, and any other forms of media I can't think of at the moment, DC owns DC owns Dragon Ball. The fight scenes for the human characters in DC, like Batman, Robin, Green Arrow, and many more like them. Like you see in the pictures right here. Because they're human levels, they gotta rely more on martial arts and athleticism and regular weapons. The fight choreography is better than that of Dragon Ball, which is just wah 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 wah, hyper fight and throwing lasers and crossing your fingers and hoping you hit something. Next, then when you get the cosmic level people, Superman, Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, Shazam, Wonder Woman, the Reverse Flash, and many more. When you get heroes like that, they are able to do what the Dragon Ball characters can do, only even better, much larger in scale, much larger in scale. How the Dragon Ball characters are planet busters, these DC characters are universe busters, universe busters. And once again, they do the same moves and the same things in Dragon Ball, except they have some moves the Dragon Ball characters will never possess, and in battle, just like the human characters, way better technique and form when it comes to hand-to-hand combat and projectiles, powers, etc. Whereas in DBZ, it's just a bunch of shitty brawls. It's just a bunch of shitty hyper fight brawls, spinning in a loop for several hours, and then the worst, throwing key blasts and lasers randomly with no form and hoping you hit something, crossing your fingers and hoping you hit something. That's not martial arts. I don't see how that franchise can be even classified as martial arts. So DC is better in action. Next, every franchise in the world is better than Dragon Ball in this category, and that's storyline and characters. The Dragon Ball cast, apart from a few characters such as Gohan, Android 17, 16, Trunks, Pikkon, Olibu, the Warriors of the Dead, the Dragon Ball GT cast, and I guess any villainous or anti-hero or outsider character, the Dragon Ball characters are filled with bland, boring, irredeemable lowlifes and pussies. pussies. Not to mention useless not to mention useless characters who can't do anything, who can't survive, who can't win fights without the Dragon Balls. They can't do it with their own power, and they never learn. I counted. It took both the Cell Boo and Android conflicts took about 13 plus tries to finally put down both Cell and Majin Buu. Yet in DC, you get the same storylines with better, more consistent writing, better, more consistent, more realistic and believable writing, larger than life, way cooler, way better characters in any form of media when it comes to DC. Next, next is franchise. The only thing Dragon Ball actually rivals DC in would be video games, and in my opinion, DC games are way better than Dragon Ball games. But DC, for a while, most of their games, unless it was like a beat 'em up, like the Batman game, the various Batman games, the Green Lantern video game, it was usually their video games were usually weak, especially their fighters, like I think it was called Justice League Action, which was a horrible, clunky Street Fighter 2. Whereas Dragon Ball had the Super Butoden series, Hyper Dimension, Budokai Tenkaichi, Burst Limit, and now Fighter Z. But DC, this one game, in my opinion, blows Dragon Ball out of water, and that, of course, is Injustice. The Injustice franchise. So yeah. This is the only thing Dragon Ball rivals DC in. Next, of course, the biggest one again, going back to the action. Only this time it's power levels. DC, one of the only franchises that can beat the Dragon Ball characters, that has characters that can beat the Dragon Ball characters, and not only beat them, make them look like Yamcha and Krillin and Tien and Chaozu out there. Make them look lame. DC, the Superman, the Superman. Oh yeah, the Superman battle, the Martian Manhunter, Piccolo anime fight dojo battle, and now, in my opinion, the greatest one, the Reverse Flash versus Goku Black. Oh man, he made these Z fighters look like amateurs. Who have never fought before. They made them look like Yamcha out there. So if you got any Dragon Ball defenders and still walking around bragging about, talking about how powerful their characters are, even if that is not the argument, always bring up these DC characters to once again show them what fighting and what power and what technique truly is. Because throwing ki blasts and random punches and kicks and hoping you land and hit something is not technique. This Super Saiyan faggotry is not technique. Is not power. And the Dragon Ball spamming, the worst, the misuse of sacred power, is unacceptable. So yeah, and last but not least on this list, of course, DC as a whole is a better franchise than Dragon Ball. Now this time I'm talking about the movies. How does both fare on the big screen? To tell you the truth, neither have fared well on the big screen. I like Dragon Ball Evolution, but facts are the facts. It was failure. It was failure. However, DC is still a live action movie franchise. And if anyone wants to bring up Dragon Ball's various anime films, which apart from Super Broly, I think all of these suck. Apart from Super Broly. But that's animation. That's a cartoon. Anyone can make a cartoon movie. Sorry. Live action. And their last ventures in live action really weren't that successful. Their last 3 ventures in live action really weren't that successful. DC has owned them. They've had their stinkers too, but DC as a whole has owned them and are still a franchise. They're about to be rebooted with the latest Flash film, but they are still a film franchise and they are still killing it at the box office. At the box office, whereas Dragon Ball's crappy animated features are being released that are killing it overseas in their home country, but when they come here in America, they're released to limited theaters. Sorry, for me, in my opinion, for you to be the best, you got to knock it out everywhere you've been, which is what the MCU, DCEU, and many films like it do. And other films in failure, like Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad Part 1, Justice League, and Aquaman and Shazam. I can take Aquaman off the list. Aquaman and Shazam all still gross higher than any Dragon Ball animated picture. And I love Dragon Ball Evolution, but Dragon Ball's Evolution's horrible adaptation of the original Dragon Ball. I like Dragon Ball Evolution because it's different. And changed a bunch of things about Dragon Ball. So Dragon Ball Evolution is the representation of how much Dragon Ball, undeniably, how much Dragon Ball sucks and how trash it was, how trash and overrated it was and always will be. So this was my several reasons why DC owns Dragon Ball. I'm finished for now. Time for the next video.